Oh, that's way too loud. Give me a second. Let's mess with the audio real quick just to make sure you're not getting blasted by the wrong people. You want to get blasted by my voice, not their voice. You want to be able to hear me clearly. You don't want to, I guess you want to be able to hear them clearly, but it's not as important to be blasted like that. Let's see if this is better.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to
That's
have
better.
President Zelenksyy of Ukraine. And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been...
So I may speed this up at certain points as well. You let me know whatever's clever as we kind of go through it, and then feel free to shoot comments along. I have given this a watch, like I said, so I will be popping through and kind of relating this back to other parts. Like I said, we've gone through the Jack Smith report as well. So that'll relate. We'll go through the Mueller report, and then I'm guessing we'll probably jump on some of the other stuff with Citizens United and then Trump for United States, but can't really know until we get into it. So let's watch it and let's see how frustrating it really is.
Dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is...
So one of the big things here that I think it is more likely than not, based on what I've seen, is that there is some sort of like setup to this. They wanted some sort of like cadence. So they wanted regular interview, kind of back and forth, not let anything get too crazy. And then they wanted to end it a certain way. So stick around if you want to see the ending that they wanted, because I think it was more set up than people give it credit for.
A very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We have to negotiate a deal.
Listen to how it is too. So for me, it's super clear. Like if you just listen to these people talk about it, it's so obvious. We need a deal. I talked to Putin. He's very happy. I'm sure he is happy that you are forcing this issue, because now Putin has been taken off the table as somebody with agency in the conversation, because Trump has said it and come in and said, and there are people behind him. So he says it, and then the cult follows. He says, oh, we need to do this thing. Oh, we need to end this war. Oh, the people are dying. He goes through this, basically Russian talking point, but he gets to put it on this big stage. This is one of the reasons why I think they did this so publicly. They wanted to argue this publicly so they could get this out there. Not that you don't have this, but they wanted to air this type of stuff publicly, that all the issues that have been going on can be easily solved with just peace deal. Oh, quick peace deal, and then we're all good. You're getting in the way of this really easy peace deal. Putin's a really reasonable guy. You just haven't been reasonable, and that's just the wrong way to paint it. Obviously, it's the wrong way to paint it, but I think this is all a setup. So I think this is all painting this one narrative and kind of painting Zelenksyy into a corner. You have to respond to this type of crazy thing, because what you want is beyond what is being talked about here. You don't just want, oh, let's stop this, for some peace, or let's stop this. No, you want some type of serious guarantee that's going to last beyond one president or one administration. You want something that's going to guarantee you and your people's safety, because how did we get here? But maybe that'll come up later on.
But we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen.
The confines of a deal. What is that? Is that the concept of a plan? The confines of a deal? The concepts of a plan? It's all fucking nonsense.
It was mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. You're losing thousands of soldiers. On both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop.
Like, just think about that framing. Like, you are here in the Oval Office. You're talking to the, quote, it's not anymore. You can't say things like leader of the free world, that the free world is taking their business elsewhere. But my goodness, you're sitting here in this place, and then you're getting lectured about your people dying, but alongside, oh, some really good Russians are dying. You know they could just stop, right? This is the problem with allowing people to think and parrot these kind of stupid lies of, oh, we don't know who really did it. We don't know who's really to blame. No, there is clearly an aggressor here. So if the aggressor stops, it would be over. And that's probably the best path to something that'll work long term for everybody. Some real meaningful, lasting peace, not some ceasefire BS, which we get into it later. It's quite ridiculous.
And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard. But we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we came along, the Biden administration.
I wonder if that's going to be the promise. It's just, oh yeah, we'll build any place up, and if you turn us away, we'll just cut off all funding, cut off all aid.
I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. If I were president, this
1,000 times.
we would have had a deal negotiated.
Would have never happened. He was never president before, right? In his little mind, he was never president. So that's not a crazy statement to say.
They've been unbelievably brave, and we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and
was supposed to be over very quickly. Gives away the game.
Tremendous credit to your generals and your
soldiers. Did Putin tell you that?
In the sense that it's been very hard fighting.
You shouldn't have lasted this long. That's what he's saying right there. You shouldn't have lasted this long. Shouldn't have been able to. Yeah, just take what you got. Now it's done. That's so gross.
It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much.
Just look him right in the eye. And he's just gross.
At the conference in the East Room in a little while.
And the thank you very much, that's just like a please and thank you. Like, oh, thank you, we're going to sign the deal. It's definitely a guarantee. Yeah, for sure. You're demanding quite a bit, and you're not offering quite as much as you think you are. I don't understand why we just assert this.
Right after lunch. And we'll be having
obviously, we know, hindsight, it didn't turn out.
I appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when they stop the shooting and we end
testing.
And I think we're fairly close to getting that, and an honor to have you.
I think we're good.
Please, I'd like to say something.
No, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for invitation.
And remember, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this. I don't know when, and it may be worth looking up. This person that's about to speak, who's in one of the toughest positions on the face of the earth, in a rock and a hard place type of way, is speaking here and does quite a good job about fending off quite a bit. And I think he had his own strategy going in. And this is English as a second language. This is not his, maybe not even second language. We're talking like multiple languages down, maybe. And he does this job. So let's see how he does compared.
Have you, and please, I'd like to say something.
No, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for invitation. And really, I hope that this first document, will be first step to real security guarantees for Ukraine, our people, our children.
First thing out of his mouth, real security guarantees. That's what he wants. Like, that's the only thing. You have to have that. Look at J.D. Vance. Perplexed.
Really count on it. And of course, we count that America will not stop support. Really, for us, it's very important to support and to continue it. I want to discuss it with details further during our conversation. And of course, the infrastructure.
So gross looking at this slimy fuck.
Because for today, I understand what Europe is ready to do. And of course, I want to discuss with you what United States will be ready to do. And I really count on your strong position to stop Putin. And you said that enough with the war. I think that is very important, Ben, to say these words to Putin at the very beginning.
You can definitely tell that Zelenksyy is
he's a killer and terrorist. But I hope that together
pandering quite a bit. He goes out of his way to say, like you said, giving that little bit of, oh yeah, like you said, at the early start of this meeting, he starts as best as he can.
For us, it's very important to save our country, our values, our freedom, and democracy, and of course, No
The Marco
compromises
Rubio
with,
sitting in the couch,
our
sinking in the couch.
will be later. And of course, what I wanted, we spoke about it by phone with you about the drones production. We have very good drones production. I think the best one in the world for today because of the war. Yes, and of course we need
Good old
very
Pete
much,
Hegseth.
the air defense. You have the best air defense in the world, and really you helped us under attacks of Russians. And I want to speak how we can exchange the licenses. We're open to share the licenses of all our drones with you, of course, with the United States, and we need.
So making offer of value for his country. So his country has been in a very tough situation and up against a larger force has been able to use drones to kind of even out the playing field. He's talking about offering up that knowledge as a way. And I feel like, at least when I saw this the first time, this is him taking the non-drastic option. So the offer on the table, it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. The offer on the table is sell us your country or we let your country be stolen from you. So we were supporting you and Europe was supporting you. You were getting money and arms and that sort of thing in order to defend your country. Sell us part of your country and the minerals there, or we'll let you slip into their grasp. Is kind of the offer on the table. And so he comes with, I think, about as sensible as you can. Hey, instead of this, why don't we talk about other options? We have drones, we have this experience, we have this knowledge that we can offer, we can give you other things as well. This is the kind of alternatives. So when they go back and say that he is, some madman that would never hear anything else, Zelenskyy was, I think, being reasonable, offering other options, offering alternatives.
Quick production of air defense. Even after the war, we need our nation to be calm, that we are secure. So that's why we need this air shield. And of course, about this.
Talking about real security.
I think that France and UK already spoke to you, and we know that Europe is ready, but without the United States, they will not be ready to be as strong as we need. And the last point, last not least, about exchange, about our people and children. And you know that this crazy Russian, that they stolen 20,000 of children, Ukrainian children. They changed their names. They changed.
Jeez Louise. I remember hearing about this the first time. This is
we want
crazy.
to bring them back. And really, it's a big, big dream, task, and goal for me and our warriors. By the way, Mr. We
think about it in the modern day, and then Trump is looking at him. None of this hits on him. He came into this meeting with a set goal. The idea is that we will end on a ceasefire. Otherwise, you have betrayed us. We have supported you for X amount of time. So you need to do this thing now because we said so. It's, we are supporting you up until this point. And that brings me to one of my things. Like Zelenskyy is offering realistic alternatives, realistic options. If you don't take those, say, you put yourself in Zelenskyy's shoes or a president of Ukraine, whoever ends up being the president of Ukraine, because it seems pretty laughable to think that if you put yourself in his shoes, it would feel like a crazy life. But now he's in this extremely difficult position. And if you found yourself in the same one, what would you do if your greatest ally is stabbing you in the back as you're facing an existential threat? And they are offering, the offer that they make doesn't even include your extended security, just stopping it now for some good win. This person said that they can solve it, and they're not coming in and they're not solving it. They didn't change anything. There is no paradigm shift. In fact, they're probably giving away more than the other side ever would have. Like this, the people saying that they're Russian talking points or that these are, Russian assets now and stuff like that, they're not missing the mark. The big thing now is this stuff directly aligns with what Putin wants, especially this whole public meeting. I wonder if this was a suggestion, because this all rings of some political theater that would happen in a different fucking country than ours. This is just gross. I saw something about it today where they were talking about this type of stuff, these disagreements have happened, but you don't ever let this type of stuff see the light of day. You don't have the press here for this, and it was intentional. He even says as much later, and we'll point it out later, but it's crazy to think.
Warriors from Russian prison, but there are thousands more in the prison. I wanted to share with you some images, how it's just Can I now?
Yeah,
Have
please,
I?
please.
Some minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I just you to understand in what circumstances, in what situation they are, and what the attitude of Russia to our prisoners. That guys, just you before and after.
This is from Forbes Breaking News, by the way. We are watching their clip. Saw a bunch of clips all together, but this is one that caught everything from a decent angle.
They beat them and they, you know,
Talking about the awful treatment that Ukrainian soldiers, I believe, and I think he was talking women and children receive, but I don't know how much is included in there.
there are rules during the wars. These guys, they
Talking
don't
about
have any
Putin
rules.
ignoring the rules of war.
50, 60
If you ever see a guy named Dylan Burns, he talks about that quite a bit.
things. And I didn't want to show you what the changes with images of children, because I will just share with you. And I mean, it's looking.
That's what I was saying. I don't think he included all the children. Trump saying it's tough stuff.
You see,
This is
tough
tough stuff. That's the
By
quote.
way, they stolen pastors because it's not Russian church. They stolen pastors and moved pastors to the prison. We at the end of last year we brought.
This is Zelensky, I believe, trying to get to that Christian
This is pastors.
mentality, that Christian,
Just,
loyalty to Christ-like ideals, and it's just falling on deaf ears. You're just talking to the worst
we wanna
one.
get that ended, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then Trump ends it with, we need to end it. Not get justice, not some sort of...
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Let's hear what the questions are.
What is the U.S. going to put into the fund that is being created today, and how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly.
That's the
how
big
much
question.
we're gonna be-
So let's see if we get an answer to that. So who cares about the money? They're going to lie about the money, and they have been lying about the money because that's what they do. Let's see what we see as far as an answer to long-term security. That's the real question, the most important thing that's been brought up so far.
Be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot
Who
of
gives
oil
a shit?
and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that could be unprotected. But
Just a
still,
bunch of
it's not very
stupidity.
much. They
Who
have,
cares?
Among the best in the world.
Lying.
in terms
Bunch of
oil.
bullshit.
So we're going to be.
I think he's talking about rare earth
taking it,
minerals,
using
but
it
I
from all of the
literally
things
don't
we
care.
do, including AI.
Because he's
and
not talking about that
weapons
fund.
and the military and
Oh,
it's,
here we
really
go.
Very much satisfy our needs. So
Are
something
those
that
going to
just worked
Ukraine?
out, really
So you were asked about long-term security, and the only thing you mentioned is you're part of the deal that eats up a huge part of this gentleman's country that he's the president of, which, by the way, remember that he's offered to step down. I believe that is a currently vetted thing, that Zelensky has offered that as part of the peace process, he would be more than willing to step down if it meant some real type of security guarantee. This isn't somebody who wants power. That is not a dictator. Could you imagine Trump ever doing that? Could you ever see that in your whole life? If it meant saving 2 Americans, 1 American, do you think he would do it? No. If it meant saving 1 million, do you think he would do it? Probably not. If it meant saving all of us, do you think he'd even care? Or do you think he'd just take his check and go? Versus Zelensky, who is a very different person. I don't know if you've seen some of the other stuff on him, but there was an offer to get him out, to, oh yeah, we can get you out. We have an evacuation for you. And he said, I don't need that. I don't need evacuation. I need ammunition. What's the actual quote? I think it's, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition, not a ride. So that's who we're dealing with here on the left. So someone who won't run in the face of his country, having a very difficult time that other leaders may kind of duck and cover or may leave in similar circumstances. He refused to. And then he has to answer to these things, where the one thing he wants is long-term security guarantees. It's the one main thing he brought up, and these are the terrible things that are happening. We want these people brought back and this sort of thing. But the one main thing is none of it all matters if we can't get some long-term security guarantees. He's been asked about it, and then he didn't say anything about it. Let's see if we get anything.
Well, we have a lot of oil, and we have a lot of gas. We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth.
Oil and gas.
This,
Good to know.
just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers.
He's waiting
for
on
all
it,
of
fucking
the
piece of
things.
shit.
This puts us in great shape.
And the long-term security for Ukraine, how is this provided?
I think they're going to have great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin.
They're just not going to go back. You just have to believe me, bro.
Very strong.
That was the answer on long-term security is, oh, this time he's broken it in the past. He's fought when I was in office. They were fighting. So all my claims about it just not being, oh, it just didn't happen when I was there, those are all just blatant lies. And I think we even see a confrontation on that later. But my goodness, it is just absolutely silly to hear long-term security guarantees for a country just be like, and remember, this is the reason why we're here. Long-term security guarantees were, there were promises made. There were, people had the idea that they would be protected if they gave up their nuclear weapons. And then here we are seeing it later like, oh yeah, now you need to stop fighting for your own country and your own sovereignty and give up some large part. And by the way, give us a huge portion of your country so we can chunk it up for our shit. So we can just turn you into our mineral factory while we do that and rebuild your country, aka build it so we can get the shit out of there. That is the deal you're being presented with here. And you get no long-term security guarantees. So after we're done, they're coming right back. Or maybe even before. Who knows? Fuck it.
Well, I've known them for a long time, and I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day. All they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died.
Oh my God. Talk about putting the cart before the horses. You can see it. You can see it with Zelenskyy. We're going to back that up because you can see it with Zelenskyy, just how wrong and how backwards that thinking is. Yes, we'll worry about security guarantees only after we sign away these mineral rights and stop everything and come to a deal that you're supposed to honor that we know that Russia won't. Why on earth would you ever sign to that? We're going to back up and we're going to watch that again, but watch Zelenskyy's body. Like, that's insanity.
We talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day.
Of course everybody's talking about security.
Let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first.
Look at him. Look at Zelenskyy.
Right now, we have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000.
Like, how do you take that? Like a ton of bricks, you have to take that. Just the lack of knowledge there in order to say that is just insane to me. Insane to me. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll give you those long-term security guarantees. Yeah, the promises that you need to make sure that this deal actually means something. Yeah, we'll give you those after you sign the deal. What? Why on earth would you ever agree to that? If you'll agree to that, I have quite a few things I'd like to sell you. Like, how gullible can you get, especially when they got into this whole mess from that exact type of thinking of, oh yeah, we'll just take a promise, or oh yeah, we'll take your word for it, that sort of thing. We need real guarantees. What do you have for us?
2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, you know, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers. And we want to be.
I like how he brings up the Russians first. My goodness. I thought this was America. Reagan would be rolling over in his fucking grave.
What the Biden administration did was.
By the way, if I talk over him and you can't hear him, I don't give a shit. This is fucking bullshit. This is just insanity.
Security was in the form of a loan. They get their money back, and we didn't. And now, at least we're protected because the American.
I wonder if that's intentional there to bring up security of the money that way, the same way that Zelenksyy talks about like security guarantees for his entire country. I wonder if it's trying to belittle it in that same way.
What they have.
Just like, oh yeah, we're just trying to get guarantees for our money. They're just trying to get guarantees for their country. Like, this is what you do. You get guarantees, but sometimes you can't. Like, that's how it goes. This is the deal.
Weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country. This allows us to do this.
But Mr. President,
Will you continue
Sorry, I'm sorry.
sending military aid?
Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can just...
That guy's going for it.
In the document, there is one of the very important points. If we speak about business and investment, we never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next document, but anyway, here we see in the framework, we see a really goodwill for this. LNG terminals for us is very important, and I think for security of European continent. We have the biggest storage, gas storage. We have the biggest in Europe, yes. And we can use it. Use it for LNG, we use it for LNG, and we will do it. And really, we can help Europe because Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less.
That's another pander moment.
Our friends, and they our.
He's trying. He's reaching across. Hey, just like you said.
Gave a lot, Mr. President.
They
Yeah,
did.
really, they did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No,
Much less.
No. No.
Don't argue.
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't argue. You have to accept the non-truth. You have to accept the lie.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as
The demonstrable lie you have to
and,
accept.
as a president of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So, what place in the world history do you want to take, and do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
Yeah, I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I would say I'm far superior to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
I wonder with some of
And
these
you know
questions
what?
that they have in here, like
Because when I
who
say
the
that,
origins
the
are.
is gonna go wild. They're gonna say he considers himself.
Like, I know he does that sort of thing anytime he doesn't like a question. He's like, oh, are they CNN? Are they like something like that? Like, I wonder who the origins of some of these questions are. And there's one later that's like very, very loaded that I wonder if that one was just preloaded. They just, hey, we want somebody in there who's going to softball one in.
Great achievement if we could get the war stopped and get them back to normalization. I think
It goes to my thought that that's kind of like political theater.
Good talks on both sides, as you know, but I think we've
It could
done
be a
pretty
genuine
well,
question,
just
though, because
generally. If you
people
look at all
like
of
do
the things
think
we've done,
Trump
and
is worried about his
needless to
legacy.
say, there's never been a opening for a president. The first month, there's never been a first month like we've had. And this is one of the very important things. This, to me, is one of the most important things because we have tremendous death taking place as we
God,
speak.
he just
and
says like
I don't
nothing.
wanna
He
have
just
that.
keeps going
Look
back
at
to the
parents
same
who
one.
were
Like,
whether
think
they're
of the
Russian or
individual
Ukraine,
people that are dying. Think of the
parents
individual. You don't give a
people being
fuck about
killed.
any of these people, and it's so clear. It's so transparent. Like, I don't understand
Should have never
who would
started.
believe this sort of thing.
If I were president,
Should have never started. Look at Zelensky's face. Do you see that? Oh my gosh.
if I were president, this would have never started.
Oh my gosh. His disbelief on his face is so tough.
Will you continue sending military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. signs this agreement with Ukraine?
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
the
be
question to
continuing.
President Zelensky, do you feel like the U.S. is on your side, that President Trump is on your side?
This guy pushed real hard, and he got his both questions in. This was a good job.
What do you think?
This is a good strategy.
I think that it's sort of a stupid question. because I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't. But,
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation, and I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that United States President will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin,
Oh my God, what is this belt over here to the side? I didn't even see that. Holy shit, look at that belt. Is that a... That's disgusting. It's like a WWE belt in the Oval Office, and they talk about disrespect.
This is the question with really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies to stop Putin, withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that you asked about the history, I think that if President or when he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace to our country, I think he will be on this wall.
I think everybody's talking about the legacy. I think everybody knows to go towards Trump's legacy. I think that's just like an easy angle.
President Zelensky just said that there'll be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelensky is going to have to make? And President Zelensky, is there anything that you think that you may be able to offer or bring to the table, for example, elections? Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to
No
make
shit.
compromises,
It wouldn't be a
hopefully
deal.
there won't
Be a railroad.
Some people think
You
he's
just
going
fucking
down.
run him over.
That's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator.
But you hear about it, it's already over. Like, the deal is done. Like, it's just about how much you're getting. Like, it's over. We're not, like...
They've been very hostile. There's been a vicious...
This is why I think it's a setup from the very beginning. They brought him in and it's supposed to be this public smattering. You're supposed to turn everything towards the talking point.
Many times we were talking about it with Pete. Many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection against the bullets.
Zelensky, the shake of his head, you just don't know my country.
So all I can do is...
You just don't know. You're just lying. You're just lying in public about my country. And so he has to call it out. I think this is part of the setup. One of them was to bring Zelensky here, have him publicly shown, have him out here, and then just hit him with so many things and see if you can get him under your skin and make him look like the villain that you've been portraying him to be. So one of the big things is that it's just not been lining up. A lot of the pieces that you've seen on him haven't been matching the story that they've been giving. So let's bring him out and let's piss him off. We can't say anything wrong, but if he reacts to anything that we have to say, like this ridiculous shit, look at Zelensky's face. Like, I am surprised by the restraint he shows. Look at this.
Dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land.
Look at him.
Great farmland, but there's very little protection.
As you lie about my country.
And other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the
As you just lie.
in agreement. And
As you
people
just
are gonna
choose
get
to
the
lie
message,
about my country.
otherwise I wouldn't probably be even here.
That's insanity.
Will President Putin have to make compromises?
That's a good question.
Ultimately, your legacy will be the peacemaker and not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars. And I've got a question.
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be...
This guy's a fucking toy. This is the Marjorie Taylor Greene boyfriend.
This would be a great thing if we could
Right.
do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else.
The
Second,
bold
it's
butch
still
body,
alive, but
butch
I
body
consider it
boyfriend.
to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker.
Thanks him
This is-
publicly.
this is a
Make sure you
great
thank
thing
him
to solve.
publicly.
This is a very dangerous situation.
It's another thing that
This
makes
could
me think
lead
this is
to a
all
third
just for
world
show.
war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost, if we didn't win this election, and by the way, we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won.
Well, and then like listen to this framing here too. We avoided World War III. We got voted in, so we're gonna go this way. So if they don't go along with us, then what? Oh, they did it. They're the problem. No, you're supposed to negotiate. You're the one in charge now. You're the one who has it. Why the fuck can't you get it done?
I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second
And my
question?
second question for President Zelensky. Do you
This
ever-
is gross.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit?
This is
You're
just
the highest
gross.
level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I
the
don't have
dignity of
such.
this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish. Yes.
That's just gross.
One.
Maybe
Something
something
like yours, yes. Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than yeah. Thank you.
President Trump.
Just like a disgusting question. Can you imagine having to Can you imagine having to field that question? Like, your people are dying. Like, they talk about it later in this time. Like, stuff is going on currently. Like, Putin isn't stopping for any of this, and of course doesn't have to answer for not stopping for any of this and not honoring any of the peace talks, not anything. He doesn't stop any of this stuff. It never stops. That's the big problem.
Welcome to the
Thank you
Fark
so
King
much for the
Show.
follow, Overstimulated Mama. We really appreciate it. But the big thing is, I just can't believe that you have to field that question. Why on earth do you have to field that question from this? I mean, I know you're in this office and you're asking for the aid, but my goodness, can you imagine as your people are dying and as the person who no one is going to call out, no one will call out Putin in this room. None of these people, none of the people on the couch are willing to say who the real enemy is, because we all know who the real enemy is. They won't say it. And so you have to answer that question about not looking professional enough. Meanwhile, Elon was in there in a t-shirt and it doesn't even matter. So what does that say? What does it actually matter?
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine, yeah, sure. Hopefully I won't have to send very much because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can...
We're already done. We're announcing what we're saying
very much
beforehand.
appreciate the agreement because we needed what they had.
Everybody knows that's the best way to negotiate.
You know, our country.
There we go.
Fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, you know, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly, very quickly.
So, like, this is the negotiation strategy. You are telling them right away, hey, we have no more will to fight, so we are done fighting. What does that say to Russia? Like, this is why the appeasement argument hits so hard, and people can't just say, oh, well, you say Hitler about everything, or, oh, you say World War II about everything. It's like, no, man, like, look at what he's doing. He's pushing into sovereign countries, and you're not nipping it in the bud. You haven't many times in a row. He's done it over and over and over again. What's to stop him from pushing and then expecting someone like the United States or someone like Trump, more specifically, to back him up in his ridiculous attempts? But if you push this narrative that, hey, this is the only way to avoid it, this is the only way to avoid it, you can get away with quite a bit. They have already. They are controlling the narrative. They are lying through their teeth every single step of the way, but it is somehow working. It is pushing the narrative, and the rest of the world is responding to it. They're stopping trusting us. Like, just listen to what he talks about there. We are over supporting you, so it's time to just end it. You have to just give up. What type of negotiation is that? You negotiate from strength. I'm sure that's in the art of the deal, which Trump and I have one thing in common. It's that we've both never read that fucking book. Maybe we both maybe breathe oxygen, but I'm not sure about that second one.
Guarantees, Mr. President?
I don't want to talk about security yet because I want to get the deal done. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about security yet. So I am willing to say publicly that I'm done supporting. I don't want to send weapons. I don't want to talk about future weapon sales, but I am willing to say publicly that I don't want to talk about the security guarantees. The one thing that has been, and honestly, I think this is probably a good job by Zelenksyy. Don't buy into this. You don't need to act like everything is normal when they are announcing publicly like this that the terms of the deal, the things that you are here to negotiate, aren't even on the table. The one thing that you're here for, his security guarantees, the one thing he's talking about first, is the one thing he's not receiving. And it's very clear from these questions. So why keep with decorum? Let it turn into something. But do it in a classy way. And I think you'll see my bit later. I think this was all a setup. I think it was all fucking show. I think there were like lines and everything. There was a fucking script.
Over and over, I want to get the deal done. Security is so easy. That's about 2% of the problem. I'm worried about security.
2% of the problem is continued security for the country that's been invaded. So they were invaded. Oh, but it just wasn't me. It just didn't happen under me. But you didn't stop it when it was you. But yeah, but it was a harder problem then. Well, it's a hard problem now. And we want security guarantees so it's never a hard problem again. Can we get those? No, I don't want to talk about that until after the deal is done. Sell me half your country, sell them the other half, and then we'll talk about it. It's just no one could be asked to make this deal. And to sit here and act like it's normal is wild.
I'm worried about getting the deal done. The security is the easy part. Security
You can see
is very nice.
Zelenksyy.
Everybody stopped shooting. And now will Europe put people there? I know France is going to. I know the UK is going to. I know
Zelenskyy's beside himself, mouth agape.
We haven't committed, but we could consider.
Doesn't even know what to
we
say.
have security in a different form. We'll have workers there digging, taking the raw earth so that we can create a lot of great product in this country.
Awful.
So in that sense, you have something, but we haven't determined that yet. I will say, in speaking to France and in speaking to, and they were here, as you know,
That's just awful.
just the other day.
So it's not on the table. And by the way, the only thing that we're worried about is our people. So we'll have security for our diggers.
Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back.
President Zelensky is shaking
when
his
this
head
deal
no at
ends,
that,
I really
Mr.
believe
President.
this deal is going to be over.
Well,
Question? Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
President, thank you.
Thank you.
Crown and Keir Starmer at the White House this past week, both of whom praised your courage and conviction.
Oh no, she was trying to give it to him. She's trying to get Zelensky to finish because you probably could have gotten this
Yes.
reporter to shut the fuck up.
Re-engaging Russia in diplomatic relations, something that previous leaders lacked, the conviction to do so. What gave you the moral courage and conviction to step
And then it's followed up by this bullshit. I wonder if that's why they pushed ahead for it. You get that bullshit question, and this is why it's theater. You push through that very serious question. You allow the serious question, and then make sure you follow it up directly afterwards with a bullshit, like softball.
And I feel that as the head of this country, I have an obligation to do that. Plus, you know, we're very much involved. We got involved. It's too bad we got involved because there should have been no involvement because there should have been no war. And there shouldn't have been October 7th. That would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke.
So, like, this is the strategy, just so you know. Like, this is what kills me. I have new allies written down out here on my notes, and it's because we are sending a message to everyone else in the world, every other small country, every other place that Russia borders, every other place that might be the next target. We are sending a message to you that if you weren't invaded under Trump, if there was some start to it that was under Trump, it is no involvement with him and he has no culpability to it. We are not the United States of America. This is now Trump land. And if I didn't do it, if I didn't start it, then I have no responsibility for it whatsoever. Why would I? It didn't start directly under me, so I have no responsibility to it whatsoever. It sucks for you guys. It sucks that it started in the first place. Whoever did that really, really does suck. Well, could you at least say who started it? I don't really know. You're kind of a dictator. You haven't had elections since you were in office because your country's been in the middle of a war. And we have no understanding. We just, sorry, we got nothing for you. What does that say to every single ally of ours? You're no longer an ally. That's what it says. It says you need to go find different allies. China will take these people in. China will take these countries in for a similar rate, maybe a little bit worse rate, but it is something that they can count on, at least now, over us if they are willing to stand up against the other powers of the world. You will go where your money spends. You know, if you can't get anything, the price is simply too high in America for protection. You can't get security guarantees from a country that promised you security guarantees from the country that is invading you now. Like, the direct promise so clearly broken, it makes it more evident than ever to every nation that they cannot count on the United States as an ally, which is a disaster for us on the world stage. I know no one cares. I know it's all a fucking meme, and I know it's all a joke and everything like that. But truly, that is a devastating for all of us. Like, we may never truly be able to know the... And even now, as I talk, there are conversations and back deals and stuff going on. You don't know just how quickly things can slip away. Are we the leader? Is he the leader of the free world anymore? Is the United States the leader of the free world? Or are we just some other dictatorship? Are we just some other, random place that just can't get their shit together? Or are we the leaders? Obviously, if we don't have people following us, we're not the leaders. And if I was one of them, I'd be looking at drastic options. I'd be looking at new allies. I'd be looking at the people who gave me a shitty deal before. But hey, it's at least a deal. This isn't even a deal. This is sacrificing the birthright of your country for the right to eke out 5 more years of life before they come back and fucking storm again. Like, it's just, you wouldn't make this deal. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't make this deal.
No
If you're
money to
honest with
give to
yourself, you wouldn't.
Hezbollah. They had no money to give to Hamas. They were stone cold broke. And then under Biden, they became rich as hell. They went from no money to $300 billion in a period of 4 years. And they gave a lot of that money away, and you see what happened. And that's
300
false
billion.
that we hope to be able to solve. But no, I appreciate your question very much. It's just, I feel I have an obligation to try and do something to stop the death.
Mr.
If
President,
I can answer. Yes,
President
if I
Zelensky.
can answer.
Please,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Please.
And I do like your clothing, brother.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a
Yeah?
great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other, but you know what? I think
No,
I think he's
why? I
dressed
like this
beautifully.
guy. I don't know
I think
him.
he's dressed beautiful.
So I have more serious things than answer on such
Yes,
questions.
sure, that's
I will
okay.
answer on more
That's a
serious
good
questions if I
statement.
can.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So please, about security guarantees and about just ceasefire. We can't just speak about ceasefire and speak and speak. It will not work. Just ceasefire will never work because I'm like a president. I have
This is a good job by him. I think it's important to use these words.
Ukraine before my
Never.
presidency from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times.
25 ceasefires.
He broken. His own
This is a moment where
25 times he broke
English
the
being a
ceasefire.
second
You know
language
what? He
doesn't
never
help
broke
him out
it.
as much.
It never broke.
No, you were the president.
He
You
never
were the
broke.
president during.
He never broke to me.
2016, you won't be in the
He never
president.
broke to me. This is what happens. Just so you know, if you're a follower of this orange dipshit, and every time he comes in contact with a world leader, remember when he got corrected by the leader of France, remember we got corrected by this leader. The reason this happens is when the rubber meets the road, when you actually run into someone who knows it and they're not just in your bubble, they're not your crazy America bubble where they have one side believes this and one side believes this. When you can go outside and you can look at the objective fact where it's not one side screaming it's raining and the other side screaming it's not raining, and then all of our media saying, hey, there's really good points on both sides. We have people, this is somebody who's coming in from the outside and saying, it absolutely is fucking raining. The people saying that it's raining aren't crazy. Stop saying they are. And then you're saying that he's fucking crazy. The straight up telling him he is lying about these things. Well, you have to call Trump out. You have to call, if you want to have an honest conversation, if you want to be an honest person and have a conversation with Trump, you have to call out every single time that he lies, because he just lies so much. You would just have to do it, especially something like that. Oh, well, it didn't happen during it. Yes, it did. He broke the ceasefire terms during yours, just like he did everybody else's. Ceasefires to Putin mean nothing. It's not like every ceasefire is worthless. Just this ceasefire that we've tried before 25 times clearly isn't working. Let's try something else, like security guarantees, but you won't even start there. So I think Zelensky starts angling at this point to try and just stay calm, stay collected, and get what he can in. But remember, I think this is a setup. I think there's a catchphrase, and I'll tell you when we hear it. Trump hits like a catchphrase, like a go word, and then JD Vance jumps in with his whole shtick. So I think that's it, if I had to guess.
He had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods, he had conversations with our side. And we had Normandy format, the France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia. And he broken 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees.
So he's saying we just won't do it. And then Trump, in Trump's mind, in Trump's stupid mind, because he believes his own, it's the perfect, somebody who believes their own myth, like they do something somewhat, and I'm not saying that he has, but you do something somewhat noteworthy. and then they make big stories about it, and then the person kind of gets high on their own supply and then thinks they can do more than they can. That's what Trump is doing. He thinks that he legitimately has some sway, and because his name is on the document versus every other American president or any other thing, it's somehow different because of his personal relationship with Putin, which is just wild. It's wild to expect someone to step into your bullshit reality and wade around in that fucking dog shit water. It's crazy.
Is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough. Strong army is enough because his soldiers afraid, Putin's soldiers afraid of our soldiers when we're strong enough. If we are not strong enough, if we are empty, if our store.
So that's a good point. Negotiate from a position of strength. They are afraid, and we can get more, and we can have a better negotiation when we actually have some negotiating power, some legitimate power to use to make them afraid of what could happen if they don't negotiate. Because if not, why wouldn't they just push for more and more and more and more and more? It just makes sense.
Or just empty. We can't defend our land. Today, he knows that we have all the world knows that we have meeting. Yes, why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and etc. Ballistic. So he knows that we are here and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want. But I hope that we will do it. Really, we'll do it. Security.
So talking about how Putin, during this meeting, during these goodwill talks where this is supposed to be, so before everybody touched down today, before everybody got here, the idea was that this was going to go well and that there was going to be some negotiation of peace. Why, during that negotiation, are you attacking hospitals? Why are you attacking schools? Why are you attacking these vulnerable places? And what could be the goal? It's obviously not peace. That can't be it.
Security, when we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop. If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans, because they don't want to divide alliance connection between the United States and the main and strongest ally and Europeans. And this is crucial. This is important. That's what we want to speak about very much. This is very important. And air defense. So air defense, really, we have big deficit with all these systems, and we need to provide this. We need it very much. Otherwise, Putin will never stop, and will go further and further. He doesn't want. He hates us. It's not about me. He hates Ukrainians. He thinks that we are not a nation. He thinks, and he shared these thoughts. I think maybe with your team also. I don't know.
That he can fold them back in.
In media, officially and not, he always said that there is no such country, such nation, such language, and such life like Ukrainian. No, he really doesn't respect all the Ukrainians, and he wants to destroy us. And you are right, Mr. President. That's 2%. This document, maybe other documents, it's a very good start, very good, but it will not enough to stop this person.
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
Mr. President, under these
Should Russia pay to rebuild Ukraine?
They have to pay. This is the rule. This is the rule of the war. This is the rule of the war. During all the centuries,
Oh, I tried doing too much. Give it a sec.
This is the rule of the war. Who began those pay.
Do you agree,
This
President
is the rule.
Trump?
Putin began this war. He has to pay all money for innovation. He has to pay. Of course, some Russian assets, what we have in Europe, about 300 billion, we can use that.
This is the only part where I think they might have gotten it off the rails.
Support from the United States also. We can.
They knew there were going to be some butting heads.
It's not.
Because I wanted to know.
Brian, please, wait 1 second.
I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know if you want to position yourself in the middle between Russia and Ukraine or on the Ukraine side.
I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved.
He's not for both. He's for the deal. He's for an end that speaks good to him, even if it meant all of Ukraine is gone. You give Ukraine 1% of their land back to them, he would be
fight it out.
happy with it. That's a
Who
deal.
knows what's
We
gonna
did a
happen.
deal.
But
Fuck
I want
it.
to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question about US.
And it's the problem. If they eat the shit up, but then what do you even do
Russian invasion of Ukraine,
if they don't care about the
your
deal?
predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country. Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. They, as you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
What about Baltics?
Poland's in a tough neighborhood, you know.
What about Baltics?
It's so crazy to say these things when you have like someone here, an ally that you're supposed to be doing a deal with, and you're strong arming them so hard to say these things about other areas and other regions, the Baltic. Like it's insane.
NATO has to step up, and the Europeans have to step up more than they have. And I want to see them equalize because they are in for far less than we're in, and they should be at least equal. You understand that? Why is the United States? We have an ocean in between. Why is the
When we
United
lose,
States so much-
that's the thing is people like this don't understand. They're so short-sighted that they won't see. Once we lose this ability to secure the world stage, like we secure a lot of trade routes around the world, we have a lot of goodwill around the world that we can rely on when we're going to make deals, when we're doing negotiations, when we're kind of exercising our power. We will see more and more and more. We will have to do more for less over and over and over again on the world stage. Why would you not? As we start seeing travel start to limit itself here, and as we start to see investment start limiting itself here, people will go elsewhere for similar deals. It's not that much better to do. They don't think America is exceptional. They think America is profitable. They were willing to put money here because we were extremely profitable, because we were, leading the world in that way, because we set the standard. We have the U.S. dollar is the currency standard. There are so many things that point in our direction that may be moving away or may have already slipped, and we just haven't seen it fully materialize yet, the full consequences of everything. But my fucking goodness, it's scary to hear them talk about so silly back and forth these things where we are losing allies on the main stage, and the grasp that we have, not that we control everything, but the grasp that we have on influence around the world, that kind of pulling strings and helping things go in our direction, all of that goes out the window with this bad will. And now we will have to earn every single inch of it. It sounds cool to say it like this. Oh, yeah, we went hard for a deal and then they negotiate. Now every small country knows they cannot count on us as an ally. You have to look for allies elsewhere and look for the best deal that you can get from somebody who is actually going to follow through. And then another big thing is, why wouldn't, if you were one of these smaller nations, so we put ourselves in Zelenskyy's shoes before, put yourself in any smaller nation, that Moldova or whatever, the next one that may be, or Poland, these next ones that may be on the chopping block. If you were in that same situation, why don't you move towards nuclear weapons? Forget Poland for a second. Some of those smaller ones, some of the smaller states that might be invaded, why don't you move aggressively towards getting nuclear weapons? This will increase nuclear proliferation almost by demand, because it has to, because we have no other way to secure ourselves. No one's going to make a deal with us that they can't just turn around on and just say, oh, no, we'll burn it, and who gives a shit. This is what the world stage has shown, that you can just turn on your allies in the last second, and then, oh, well, it's not so bad. Cool. All these places are going to take whatever actions they need to take in order to secure their own borders. Why wouldn't they? Can you even blame them? And as we see the effects of this, and hopefully, I knock on wood, knock on all the wood, I hope nothing like this happens. But my goodness, could you imagine every single one of these states finding their way towards nuclear weapon, or finding their way towards some type of response that they think would be proportionate enough to hurt somebody else? And then along this way, something gets misplaced, or something gets, hijacked by someone else. There are quite a few things that can happen as you increase nuclear proliferation, or the need for it, and then the demand goes up, so the supply goes up. There will be a supply somehow, some way, and I wonder which powers are going to start selling it out. We may sow our own destruction. These littler states may be the ones that end up getting these, and it may end up in the wrong hands because we were unwilling to stand with our allies in these important moments. Hey, we need security. They're coming after our sovereignty now. Hey, well, we need half your country and then give them half your country. That doesn't really work for us. Get fucked and die is what we're saying to the Ukrainians. And so why wouldn't every other small country just say, okay, that's exactly what they're going to say to us, so we must defend ourselves with any means necessary. It just makes sense. To me, anyway. I don't fucking know. I'm just some asshole, though. Like, follow, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff.
But we have put in far more than they have. And I think they should equalize.
Mr. President,
Please, go ahead.
about the agreement today, what changed between the first time that Secretary Bessent gave President Zelensky the agreement and today for the signing?
How many people are in, this is just an interesting question. How many people are in the EU? Oh. $450 million people. So they are the European Union. Ooh. I know they're not citizens of NATO, but like citizens of countries that are in NATO. But that includes us. So you have to subtract 330, so like 600-ish million people in NATO. So we're like a third of NATO, like population size wise.
I'm a business person. We made a deal. That's what changed.
A lot of those minerals.
I didn't think we were going to make a deal, and we ended up making the deal, so that changed.
Mr. President, when and how do you envision a trilateral summit with President Zelensky and Putin?
I don't know, but well, they
don't.
don't like each other. I can tell you that. Okay. They do not like each other. It's not a
The
level.
understatement of the year.
It's unfortunate. That's why you're in this situation.
It's early in the year, so it might get
The
beaten.
United States should not have allowed this to happen. Okay? The United States, run by a man that didn't know much. I'm going to be very nice.
Going to be very nice.
An incompetent person.
Talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden. God
I've
damn it.
stopped wars. I've stopped many wars.
So frustrating.
My people will tell you, I stopped wars that nobody ever heard about. I stopped wars.
Look at that
before
old
they have
fuck nodding along.
You can look at some of, I could give you a lot of nations that would tell you right now.
A lot of nations. No nations. Won't give any
Right now, there's
names.
a nation thinking about going to war on something that nobody in this room has ever even heard about. Two smaller nations, but big.
Nobody in this room.
And
So
I saw-
his vice president, secretary of state, none of these people know. Nobody knows but him. Nobody knows but me. This is why we say cult. Anybody else would just know that these lines are just fake. If anybody else said this shit, you would just never accept it.
I think I've stopped it.
Why do you accept it?
This should have never happened.
Sorry, just a second. About any negotiations. First of all,
Good job by Zelensky. That's how you take a fucking room. Did you hear that? Just 1 second. And they did a good job of cutting him off. But this is somebody who actually, man. You guys must be proud of somebody who can lead your country so well. Because, my goodness, we are hurting for any type of decent leadership.
all, I want really to tell you, and I think that everybody understands that Ukraine, more than Ukrainians, nobody wants to stop this war. But at the future, any negotiations, it's understandable that two sides of the war, not Russia and the United States, because this is not the war between Russia and the United States.
Ooh, let's go. So he actually brought up, so didn't they do that in Saudi Arabia? They did talks without Zelensky present. So he's like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, that is such a good thing to bring up right there. It's so important. If we want to have trilateral, make it trilateral. Get all parties there. Don't host some fucking agreement and come up with something when I'm not there and then ask me, not even ask. You demand me sign it or get the fuck out. That's what they did. They kicked him out of this afterwards. It's literally our way or the highway. Like, do exactly what you want and give us half your country or get the fuck gone.
This is war of Russia against Ukraine and Ukrainians. will be at the negotiation table, then of course United States.
So I think this is all a setup. Do you think Trump looks at him here and he's like, man, if I wasn't such a slimy fuck, like if I wasn't like, that's what I see there on his face. That's what I'm reading. He's thinking, man, if I wasn't like a slimy bot fuck, like if I wasn't like a piece of human shit, I'd kind of look up to this guy. Like this guy, like he has every reason to just turn over and act like a piece of shit like I do. He has everything. And I bet, honestly, Trump probably thinks these people are stupid. He probably thinks people that play the game honest. And I think I've heard this much before when he talks about golf and stuff like that. If you don't cheat, you're dumb. He's one of those people where he thinks like that, where if you aren't taking the easy way out, you just aren't taking the right way. Like, there is no reason for, in Trump's mind, Zelensky not to just roll over and give him half the, hey, you could still be president. Your people would probably celebrate it afterwards. It'd be a tough time because they say they don't want it now. But afterwards, after there is some type of peace, you would probably enjoy some popular support for some amount of time. Why don't you just take that easy way out, get some money, and then fuck off like I do? You know, like it's one of the easiest things to do. Why don't you just do it? And I bet he looks over and he's like, man, this guy is continuously not doing it. When I set him up here in a little bit, it's going to be really fucking fun. Like, I bet he looks at these people like suckers, and it's just gross to see it written all over his face. I can at least see that. Maybe I'm mind reading a little bit too much there, but it really does look like he is saying to that, I would just give up. Like, I am a coward, and I would just roll over. Why wouldn't you?
I want to speak about it with the president. Yes, Europe is very...
This is one of my things where right around this like halfway mark, I think Zelensky, like there was a turn. He like realized he wasn't getting what he wanted because he brought up the security guarantees, said it's never happening without him. And then Trump made it pretty clear that he's just not going on him. So I think they're like a switch flipped and he started bringing up Europe more. I think he is counter antagonized. So they're trying to antagonize him and get a rise out of him, make him say something that he's not supposed to. And then he is trying to do the same thing to them, but also kind of signaling to the rest of the world, hey, this is pretty clear. Something terribly wrong is going on in the United States. We're not getting the support. And if you consider them an ally, you shouldn't anymore based on this treatment right here. And he is calling out two other potential allies in this meeting that he would trust and saying, hey, remember that time we were in the mouth of the lion's den, you know, we were right in the thick of it, and we were calling out right then and there that you would be our allies. We are what do they call them? The breadbasket of Europe. My goodness, help us, you know, somebody please. And potentially, depending on how things work out, maybe this is masterfully played by him. Everybody's saying that, you know, he could have done something different. If this was a setup by the Trump and JD, like I think it was, my goodness, there was no good way. We're good to flip the switch. You picked up on their bullshit that they were doing halfway through, and you got your messaging out as best you can. Sometimes you can't argue with somebody like this. Sometimes you just have to do your best to preach.
Because
you just preach.
We defend Europe for today. All Europeans really recognize that we are defending life, and they have real life, and our people are dying. That's why they helped us. And also, it's about the NATO. Yes, like the president said, you have big, nice ocean. Yes, between us. But if we will not stay, Russia will go further to Baltics and to Poland, by the way. But first to the Baltics. It's understandable for them because they've been in the...
This is where, you know, the English being not his first language kind of showed, but like it's not like his point isn't clear here. You know, it makes sense. It is a clear thing. It is the logical next step. If they've broken ceasefires and they've done all this and they want to take this territory, why wouldn't they just sign this and then eventually take more? Why wouldn't they just push for more? Because the argument that you see, and you'll see later on as World War III, if that's the argument now, why can't we just push that on forever? What if that's the argument for taking this territory? When they take the next territory, why isn't it that?
USSR, you know, they've been one of the republics of the USSR, and Putin wants to bring them back to his empire. It's a fact. And
to restore
if we will not stay,
his empire.
Your American soldiers, it doesn't matter. Do you have ocean or not? Your soldiers will fight.
Mr. President, would you be willing to visit Ukraine, maybe Kiev or Odessa, which is going to be a very dear on the Black Sea?
It was my question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk about Odessa now. Let's not talk about Odessa. I want to talk about making a deal, getting.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about me going there. I don't give a fuck about them.
We don't have to talk about Odessa, but a lot of cities have been destroyed. A lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a
See, some of this stuff is just like Russian talking points. This is just not true.
You have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things been destroyed.
You have to just correct the record. Yep, good job. You just have to. Like the meeting is over. The meaningful part of the meeting is over, and they're on their like shit. You just have to get in what you can.
Mostly cities alive, and people work, and children go to school. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes closer to front line, children have to go to underground schools or online. But we live. Ukraine is fighting, and Ukraine lives. This is very important. And maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us. No, he lost 700,000 people, 700,000 soldiers. He lost everything. Yes. So
Mr. President, one more. I mentioned Poland.
On the minerals deal.
Mr. President, when did you
The
last
audio's
meet
fucking up.
President Putin? And what did he say that
A couple of days ago.
And what did he tell you that gave you the assurance that he wanted peace?
Well, that's what I do. My whole life is deals. I know pretty good.
Nothing. Did you hear that? That answer was nothing. What did he say? What changed? The real question there is, what is different now? So instead of saying, oh, because the deal has my name on it, it's going to be respected. What real evidence do you have? What really can you point us to make us think that this is going to be different from the 25 other ones that he's broken in the past? Not because your name is it. What did he say to you? What did this person say to you to make you think this?
And I've known him for a long time.
I've known him for a long time. I've known him for a long time. That's just ridiculous. It's just unacceptable.
Dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia.
Oh my God.
Russia.
I remember this. This is
It was
fucking
all
ridiculous.
Biden. It was nothing to do with him. So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that. I think that he.
What did Putin have to suffer for Russia? By the way, not Russia hoax. We will be going through the rest of the Mueller report. This is not just some hoax. There were meaningful indictments that came from this and people that pled guilty for crimes. They ended up getting pardoned. Roger Stone got pardoned. Paul Manafort got pardoned for their dealings with who? Russia. And then Russia. And then who was involved some more? And then Russia. So Russia, and then Russia. There were three more. There were probably more. I think there were multiple indictments. Oh, let's see. The investigation produced 37 indictments, 7 guilty pleas or convictions, and compelling evidence that the president obstructed justice on multiple occasions. I wonder why he did that. Russia, though. It's just some crazy hoax. No. You don't just get to dismiss these things. And why the fuck are you putting yourself in the same, you are a victim with Putin of this Russia thing? No. Sometimes you have to get investigated for the shit that goes on, especially when you're doing goofy ass shit. We want to know that our elections are free and fair, or at least we did before this shit happened. And I guess maggots just lost their fucking mind.
He wants to make a deal, and he'd like to see it end. That's all I do. That's what I do.
He would like to see a deal, and he would like to see it end. That's the new information that we got that makes this deal different from any other deal. This ceasefire different from the 25 others that have been broken.
My whole life, that's what I do, is make deals. And I'm in the middle of a mess because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one. If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Wait, what happened? I thought it was day one. So the deal is, let me get this straight. He's a good deal maker unless people are unwilling to make a deal, and then the deal is going to take a long time, and there's just nothing nobody could do about that. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like that's what we said before. We said some of these issues are complex, and saying that you're going to come in and solve them on day one is just kind of ridiculous. Saying that you can fix things, instantly without having any real steps to get us there, having no plan, just concepts of a plan or this sort of thing, doesn't actually get us any meaningful idea of how you're going to accomplish any of these things. So how are you going to get us there? What is the meaningful difference? And he's just got nothing. He's just got absolutely nothing for you.
Because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one.
It's a very now all of a sudden the nuance comes in. Listen to that. The stuff that we, were saying before, oh, there were, so many things to calculate and there's probably not an easy cut and dry way to do it. Now all of a sudden when he's in office, all these things make sense to people. Oh, well, it is such a deal. And oh, Zelensky has things that he wants that Putin probably isn't okay with. Why the fuck do you think they're fighting? Like, that is not why they started fighting. But like now, do you think that's probably one of the reasons why we haven't found some sort of peace plan that works for everybody? Oh, well, it's more difficult than I thought it would be. That's what you get to say. That's the cop-out that half of our population, the U.S. population, by the way, half of our population is okay letting their leadership get away with saying stuff like that. Oh, well, I know we said we could come in and just fuck them all to death. We could, solve everything with a hammer and just hit it once and then everything's going to be perfect. We have chunks of marble and we're just going to tap them once and they're going to turn into perfect statues. Hey, that doesn't really sound very plausible. Like, do you have any skill doing that? Could we see it or anything like that? No one gave a shit about that. Everybody voted you in and now you have the power. And now you're saying, oh, well, it's really hard to shape fucking marble. It's fucking stone and it's just a hammer. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's like super difficult. These international issues are stacking up and I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with a deal. Obviously you're able to, but you shouldn't be able to escape the accountability for the fact that you came in having no fucking idea what you were fucking doing and saying that you did compared to everyone else and that you had solutions that were different and were going to cause different outcomes. And then you get the exact same outcomes and then no one holds you fucking accountable. Obviously we're going to hold you accountable because you're a fucking moron, but your side won't hold you accountable. These people, these sycophants in the room won't hold you accountable. No one will actually stand up and say you're full of shit unless you run into a world leader. And unfortunately, this world leader is in a position where he can't stand up to you like Macron did for France, when he can just tell you you're flat out wrong because he's not directly invaded. But maybe that's the plan. You and Putin puppy, you guys are working together, and maybe that's the next thing. Maybe you're going to move your way into Europe. Maybe the let Putin do whatever the fuck he wants plan is part of the whole game, and this is where it starts. Who fucking knows? You can't rule anything out at this point. The fiction is not reaching what the reality can produce anymore.
If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister Starmer claimed repeatedly that his government believes in free speech and was not engaged in censorship.
Is this another plant?
The country's government arrests people for memes.
Yeah, this is a plant. See the body language here on Trump, too. He knows the question's coming. As the questions get taken, he's confirming that they're getting the good question. He went all the way to the back for it. Look at this. He's like nodding along to the people. All right, we're getting in our rhythm. We're hitting our points.
I spoke to him about that yesterday, and we thought they took it very, very much too far. JD was very strong on it. So was I. So was Marco. And we've been speaking to him about it. Marco, would you like to say something about that?
We have concerns, obviously, with the conduct of those, particularly as it impacts Americans. And there's real concern that American speech, which is online.
I wonder if Marco Rubio is going to be the John Bolton of this administration. Like, he's willing to go pretty darn far, but he's just not willing to go, like, that last step. You see the last one?
As much as anything else is these shared values, and one of them being free speech. And so if Americans are threatened by it, we're going to need to take action in that regard.
JD? It's actually a very important question.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday, and I know that Secretary of Commerce Lutnick followed up in private meetings last night. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days. And we're going to defend that right as it pertains to American companies and American citizens vigorously if we have to. I do think that under the President's leadership, we're going to find common ground with our friends in the UK on this question.
I don't understand where this question is. Where's this problem?
We believe in free speech in this country, and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
Are Americans really being silenced by UK censorship laws? Is this like, I don't know.
We'll see.
I might be out of the loop.
We're not really looking for that so much. We got a lot. We have more than anybody in the world, by far. So no, we're not talking about it too much, but a little bit. I think it affects also, but for the most part, no.
What are we talking about?
A little bit. We'll see.
On LNG?
But we're not really looking for that so much.
We believe in free speech.
Hold on. I want to catch what that last bit was. We're almost through this.
Mr.
we'll see.
On LNG?
Oil and gas. Okay.
We have more than anybody in the world, by far.
And then it looks like this reporter in the foreground is trying to get Miss Purplecoat from CNN in.
And sir, is there any agreement from Ukraine to purchase U.S. LNG as part of the deal?
Somebody whispering in the background. You shut the fuck up.
Some of those minerals are in the east,
You
Mr.
about,
President.
You just mentioned that you'd spoken to Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. Just to be clear, that's a new call, not the one that you were
I've
talking about.
spoken to him on numerous occasions.
Okay. And how was the latest call? What did you discuss? How did it go?
Are you serious with that question?
I am. I'd love to know.
It went well. I think we're going to have a deal.
On the minerals deal, Mr. President, some of those minerals are in the east of Ukraine, not far from the front lines, and
She
an
got
area
in.
Russia has occupied. Will you direct President Putin to withdraw his forces from those areas if there's U.S.
It's a very good question. So some of these mineral rights, if you look at, oh gosh. Map, Ukraine. Wow. All right, let's see if we can get. So I'm not gonna hella look into this image, but you can see right here what she's basically talking about is there are areas in this eastern part of Ukraine that are going to be included in this mineral rights deal that is on the table. So what she's asking is, will Russia be, in as these lands are split up and negotiated and back and forth, you have this these different areas going on and being split up, and obviously I imagine Russia's keeping Crimea. I obviously would have it differently if I was in charge, but a lot of stuff would be different, so don't wish for that right away. But the big thing is this eastern part of Ukraine holds a lot of the stuff that would be very vital for this deal, at least from Trump's perspective. Vital for this deal going through is having access to this stuff. So it's a very good question. Will Russia be expected to, because we have interest in this area, will Russia be expected to pull its forces back because Russian and U.S. forces or whatever, U.S. interests, even if it isn't U.S. forces on the ground, even if it isn't us, mining or extracting the resources, we will be the ones benefiting from it. So if they are endangering this, what are we supposed to be doing? And again, not speaking to the veracity of this map or anything like that, but it just gives you an idea of where these areas that are currently in conflict and that will be negotiated, these will be some of the very areas that are being negotiated for mineral rights deals. So will you see Trump push for, and this is the question here, will you see Trump push for these areas specifically to have some sort of Russian pushback? This is the question again, asked in a different way. What concessions, what compromises is Russia supposed to make if you're asking so much from Ukraine?
We have a lot of area. It's a very big area we're talking about. So we'll take a look. I'll study that and I'll see.
And who would protect those minerals if they are U.S. interests? Would that be Ukrainian forces, European forces?
The agreement will protect them.
U.S. forces?
Agreement, yeah, we're signing an agreement.
Right, but what if Russia?
The agreement will protect them. I feel safe. Who wants to go to work over there? Who wants to go to where the instead of like a fence? So they believe in a border wall when it's at the southern border, but he didn't say that here. He's not putting up a border between Ukraine and Russia. They're not paying for a wall. They're not doing anything like that. So they said they know in other situations how to secure a border, supposedly, but they have no interest in doing that here. It'll be protected by the agreement, by the paper. That's what we got. That's never good in any other situation, but they expect Ukraine to take it. And by the way, no security guarantees or anything like that. And give us half your country while you're at it, please and thank you.
Russia tries to invade or there's Russian aggression in those spots. What would
I just told you, I don't think that's going to happen.
Trump's a sassy girl.
I wouldn't make a deal.
Trump's in his brat era. I wouldn't even do that. Not even on the table. I fucking hate it.
If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal.
Some people may wonder why.
They ought to focus on.
If I thought it was going to happen, I would make the deal. Lives are at stake, so it's probably not up to your I think this, I think that type of bullshit. People are going to want a little bit more, and that's what they're asking for. And if you're ever wondering why every time you feel silly, if you agree with these dipshits, Trump and his ilk, if you agree with them and you wonder why you get embarrassed, why we go in front of the public stage and you see these people just none of the facts match up and they have so many issues that aren't these obvious softball questions. Every other question is so difficult to answer. Every other topic is so difficult because everybody disagrees with you on the facts. It's because you're wrong. Like that is the thing, is he is steamrolling ahead with a bunch of bullshit and saying that an agreement is enough to stop somebody who's broken an agreement 25 times. Why would you say that to this question when it's been brought up in this conversation how many times an agreement has been broken? And the response is, again, oh, well, I'm Trump, so we won't do it. Okay, well, do you have anything about Putin or what he said or any different actions that'll be taken? So we get that your name is on the document, but will anything be handled in any different manner? Well, I'm a businessman, like I do the deals, I like them a lot. That just doesn't check out. It doesn't cut the mustard, as they say. It's not up to par for you golf people out there, for him.
Survival, not asking me these ridiculous questions.
Why you have confidence that Putin won't violate a
Focus
deal?
on surviving, because CNN's got such low ratings. I don't think they're going to survive.
People will ask why you have confidence Putin
You just got to keep pushing through that. This is good on her.
won't violate the deal.
I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well,
Asked in the most softball way. Because remember, you can't just ask a question without being called like, oh, that's an ugly question or that's a bad question. So you have to suck his dick first. So they go ahead and do that. And then this is what we get back. Let's see.
If I align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the...
Who says say terrible things? You've said terrible things about Zelensky. That was never a problem. So it was never a problem when you were violating one person on part of the deal? Or is it because you're scared of Putin? So there is no negotiating tactic or anything like that. You're just scared of him, so you're bending over for him. If you think you don't have a path forward with a party, you just bend over for them. And then if you do have a path forward with Zelensky, oh, we can extract some money out of him and then keep that going. That sounds good for us. Why on earth does anybody consider you a deal maker if you have to be the one on top in order to get the deal? Hey, guys, I figured out the art of the deal. Start with all the chips and all the cards, and then tell everybody else to get the fuck out or else. Like I own the table and I own the cards and I own that. So I'm going to shuffle up and I'm going to deal. But then every time I lose, I'm like, hey, I actually win, right? Because I own all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, they're not entitled to the aid. They're not entitled to the cards. But my goodness, you're a bit of a bitch for setting it up this way, for having this be this way. And the bitch about calling Zelensky a dictator and then refusing to do it about Putin and then making this point is really just that. You are willing to bash your allies when they're weak, but you won't stand up to your enemies when they're strong. How fucking pathetic is that? Just fucking gross. Like, ugh. Shameful. And I know they're shameless, but shameful.
Deal. That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of...
Are you though? Are you though?
And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred.
And then blaming the leader of a war-torn country for his due and just hatred of his enemy publicly. This is what makes me think that it's supposed to get a rise out of him. This is why you saw the videos where people did AI of Zelensky, freaking out during the meeting. Who would, if you knew about the issues, who wouldn't understand some sort of reaction when you were getting this high level of bullshit thrown at you? Literally just next level styles of bullshit thrown at you from all directions, asking about your suit, asking about what was the sycophant one where it was talking about Trump is the bravest person and blah, blah, blah. You get all this stuff, and then you get to the end, and then you get told, oh, well, you're pretty darn hateful. You remember those pictures that I showed you? What do you describe that as? You described that as tough. That was tough. So war crimes are tough. But me rightfully hating my enemy, that's hateful. That is it's unproductive. You're getting in the way of peace. How are we supposed to have peace? Maybe this guy should stop committing war crimes. Maybe you should stop beating prisoners. Have you ever thought about that? Nope. That's not on the table, fuckface. But you can stop being so hateful and be a little bit more grateful. You're being a little ungracious. It's just so disgusting behavior. And to insist on doing it so publicly because it's a fucking show, I think at least part of me is thankful that they're at least so stupid to do it so publicly and so transparently that you can really, I'm going to be able to lay it out for you. They really do set this up. This was all planned. They're a bunch of fucking cowards.
And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with...
Because they can't handle it without it being pre-scripted.
So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tough.
This is like somebody who the worry about his legacy thing is, I think, more important because this is like somebody who, like Elon too, tries to do it like I am become meme and all that shit. They try and say things that are important for the moment, and I think we all do. You all try and say something that matches the gravity of the time. You want to have a little gravitas. You want to meet the moment, but you can tell that this person is kind of reaching for those things without belonging. There is an imposter syndrome that he's awash in. He is covered in it because you are not on the side of the world. It is very clear that you are on the side of yourself. You want it to look good that you did this thing near the end, and then you want to skedaddle. No one believes you that you actually want what's best for anybody else in the world. You're saying that it's like a statement that a dumb person says, like trying to get on everybody's side. You're coming out against, things like, oh, rape is bad, like that's this, oh, I'm on the side of the world. Are you really though? Have any of your actions shown that? Or have the exact opposite been true the entire time you've walked the planet?
Than any human being you've ever seen, I'd be so tough, but you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood
Let's get some fake bullshit. If JD Vance is talking, it's some fake bullshit.
Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity
This is just wrong.
Engaging in diplomacy.
Says Biden caused it, and the timing just doesn't work out. It's 2014. Just so you know, if JD Vance is talking, it's pretty reliably a lie. Reliably, get it?
That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see that? Do you see that response? Do you see that response? So this is, to me, how I know that this is pre-scripted. So I think we're getting into the pre-scripted part. Here in this next 10 minutes, they wanted the back half of the interview to ramp down. And I think there's a moment where JD Vance gets, turned on. And the reason he had to ask if he could do that was because this isn't part of the hardcore script yet. But it was part of JD's script. If you can get this in at some point, make sure you get this in. So I think this is where he fit it in. But there's a part later that I'll call out where he directly gets called into action. But this isn't that. This is, I think, more him getting in a talking point and not expecting a response. And so watch his response when Zelenksyy wants to go.
Sure. Yeah?
Sure. Fuck it. Sure. 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 What does that remind you of? Oh, sure. Like, it's already decided. Oh, sure. Like, fuck it. Like, absolutely. Like, you go for it. Like, I already got my piece out. It doesn't seem like somebody who's willing to have a conversation. It seems like somebody who just finished their talking point.
Okay. So, he occupied...
This doesn't seem like anybody who's receptive of information. That's what that, tells me.
our parts parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea.
Now let's hear some truth.
So he occupied it on 2014. So during a
So it's not Biden's fault.
lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and got.
It's crazy how other world leaders just know like the actual order of events and things and when they happen.
Less now President Trump will stop him, but during 2014 nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact.
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So he
I
killed.
was not.
Notice how, so the correction made about something that's easy to find out about, and then he's wrong about it, which is just fucking hilarious. Zelensky has to correct him, and then Vance comes in with the bridge, like, because you have to pander to Trump. That's just like how you have to do it. And he says 2014 to 2015. Like it happened, like things happened and then it stretched into that time. Yeah, that's how time works. Time keeps going in that order. Yeah, it'll eventually be 2015 if it's continued on. And that's what he's saying. It's such a silly thing. No, you're wrong about that. It's not in 2015. It's in 2014. And he's not making the point that it started under you. He's making the point that it happened for 4 years while you were in office and you didn't do anything major to change it. Now you're saying you'll solve it on day one, but the solution isn't anything. It's not any real sort of peace that's going to be lasting. It's a bunch of bullshit. And we have to sell off half our country to get it.
Yeah, but yes, but during 2014 till 20.
I think this is where we start seeing the shutting down. These people are getting into, I think they have arranged their responses.
22, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversations, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him.
So this is a deal that was signed during Trump's presidency. We haven't looked into it, but I'm sure we could. I don't know that he denied to be in it, but he's not on this deal. He didn't insist on being on this deal. And so it's like, yes, there were guarantees made while you were president, and it didn't change anything.
We signed ceasefire.
But it wasn't with me. My name wasn't on it, so it doesn't matter. Remember, that's what you're dealing with.
We signed him gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broke the ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners.
The fact that he just can't even has to avert his eyes.
Exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong.
Mr. President, with respect, I think.
To remember what they're saying. So they get to make the cheat point of you want your people to keep dying, we want your people to stop dying. But what they're really saying is we want your people to stop dying for a time. We want, at least for the next 4 years, we want you to write down something that gives away large amounts of your ability to secure the areas. You'll be giving up those areas that are contested now, so you won't be able to secure those, and then giving up some large amount of mineral rights. You give those up, and then we will do this. You'll get this ceasefire, but short of that, you won't get anything at all. When really what he needs is beyond what we're even is on the table, security guarantees that are lasting. And so you get to say, oh, well, you want your people to keep dying. You want my people to keep dying, but you just don't want them to die right this second. You want them to die down the road with less guarantees and less onus, less responsibility on the United States in order to help. Right now, we're directly involved, by I guess not directly involved. That's the wrong thing to say. We're indirectly involved, but quite closely by giving aid and being so close in the negotiations and in these talks, stuff like this. And Trump is dangerously close to Putin. So who knows? They may be working together against, Zelensky. So that's President Zelensky. So that's the big thing there. You get to make these criticisms and say, oh yeah, you want this thing. We just want cheap and dirty peace that won't be lasting. And you're the one getting in the way, trying to have people die.
It's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around.
To try and litigate. Who brought this up? You said the bit about when it happened. and then he said that it's happened the whole time. So he's just resetting the record. It's not relitigating.
Front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
That's a hard no. That's a hard no. And then this is what, again, if JD Vance is speaking, you know it's pretty much a lie. He is trying to spin some bullshit. So I've watched videos. So no, I didn't do that, but I'm not willing to say it. And can you imagine pointing at somebody? You haven't done anything tough in your life. The JD Vance, no tough things ever. And you're looking at somebody in a war-torn country. Not that I've done a whole bunch of tough stuff. I would never look at somebody leading a war-torn country and then point at them and say these type of things. It's just absolutely insane.
On a propaganda tour, Mr. President, do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military during time of war? Do you agree that it's been tough? Do you agree that war is hard? Like, what a...
I will answer. To come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country.
Listen to the victimhood here. You're attacking the administration. So you said that it was not Trump's fault at all, even though he made it clear that it did happen during, there were ongoing things that weren't stopped before, and that the one thing that he's asking for, security guarantees, you're not for, and so he is just calling you on your misinformation. You get to raise your voice and call him disrespectful.
Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems.
Yep.
Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You
Don't-
will not
you
have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to
And then they cut him off right away. So he's responding to one, and then they cut him off right away.
tell us what we're going to.
This ceasefire. But
Best in pretending.
He's got tremendous hatred he's got for them. You'd never have to be tougher than any human being you've ever seen.
our
Chunk of the country makes it.
in 2019, I signed with him the deal. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversations.
For you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the United States of America and attack the administration
So-
trying to prevent the destruction.
Called attacking the administration. Look at Trump, looking at him. So this is where I think it's starting to be coordinated. You're attacking us. We're both coming at you because you're attacking us in the Oval Office.
Start from the beginning. Sure. First of all,
And then Trump, I think Trump's job here is to shut him off before he's done talking.
everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying.
The fact that he's not even like making a prediction, it's just like what we currently feel Russia's influence already. He is saying that the kinetic, the kinetic effect, the losing people, the actual war part is a little bit removed right now, but that may be removed. But we are currently feeling the influence. When we go through the Mueller report, it's so clear to see we are feeling the influence of Russia every single day. So it's so crazy to hear him fight on this point.
Tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate
So dictate
what we're going to feel.
is the word of today.
We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and very
telling you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not
Feel very good, very strong.
in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and
of
he's
the-
happy.
You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position. Remember that. We got invaded by a Putin's Russia, a dictator. We got invaded by, and they took land, they took Crimea first, and then they've consistently taken more and killed more of our people. We've allowed ourselves to get in a bad position, and this is your main ally spitting in your face. Again, I'm not going to change Trump's mind on this. I'm not going to change JD's mind on this. But to those people that are listening to this and you want to understand what's going to happen in the future, our allies will look into new allies and nuclear proliferation. You have to look into a way to defend yourself that has nothing to do with the United States. And one of those easy ways is finding other people that are willing to fight for you, or finding other ways that you can defend yourself without anybody else relying on you. And that's not a good thing. We don't want to see that. Talk about World War III.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards.
You're playing cards. Remember, it's all a game for me. I'm going to talk about it like it's a game. JD gets to sit back. He did his good thing.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
So he gets to yell at him. So treasonous Trump here gets to yell at him for gambling with World War III because he's not willing to sacrifice his country in the short term. You won't give up your country now for some short-term peace. How is this getting us anywhere? No one believes that the ceasefire will mean anything except for you because it has your name on it, and then they'll stop forever. Why would they? So Putin was able to push into a sovereign country, kill thousands, millions. I don't know what the toll is right now for. Let's get an idea of where we're at. $1 million estimated casualties till September 2024. Absolutely bonkers. So potentially 1 million lives lost for this thing, for this, and to be warned, oh, you're the one pushing us towards World War III, not the people pushing for appeasement when Putin has moved in and killed 1 million. And then why would he have any reason to believe he couldn't do it in the future? Because U.S., it's not even that he has to rely on his pressure working. The U.S. will come in and will further pressure you into taking a predatory deal. We are China now. So why wouldn't you take China's deal instead? At least China might actually follow up on the protection part. In America now, we have shown our allies that we will come to your protection maybe if you're willing to give us all your fucking shit that we find valuable in your country has to offer. We get that, and you don't get any meaningful security. We won't even talk about it. And then we'll try and publicly embarrass you and say that you're the one causing an issue because you aren't coming to the table with us on terms that you said from the very beginning were unacceptable. It's unacceptable terms. It's an unacceptable thing to say this deal is going to happen. You're not going to put us in the same room. We're not going to come to any real understanding of anything. And there's going to be no security guarantees to go along with that. Who would accept this deal? Why would you accept this deal? That's the big question. And from Putin's perspective, why would you ever not? You love this. You get to take the next territory, and there's going to be no one to push back. There is no issue because the last time it was the same thing. Oh, well, you're threatening World War III. Don't you understand you're threatening World War III? Don't you understand? Until when does that run out? To the people who use that as an argument, when does that run out? Say we let your argumentation style win. Say everybody just said, oh, yeah, you're right. World War III, you have to give Putin everything he wants. Give him half of Ukraine, whole of Ukraine. Give him 97% and give the other 3% that's mineral rights to the United States. Just give it up so that he has it. What do you do when the next state gets invaded? Do you just say the same thing? How many states before it's too much? Is there a 3 strikes you're out policy? If he takes over 3 sovereign nations, then do we get to do something about it? Or do you nip it in the bud right away? Like, this is appeasement. This is appeasement. That is what this is. If you can go and you can look it up, if you do anything about World War II, look at the appeasement strategies that were used to, oh, well, if we give him this, maybe he'll calm the fuck down. Oh, if we give him this, maybe he'll calm the fuck down.
You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you?
So the jump on of both times.
You went to Pennsylvania
and he did say thank you at the start.
Campaigned for the opposition in October.
So the thank you and this one, this is why I think this is a line. This is why I think this is a scripted moment. This whole thing, since the last question, the reporter, oh, this is our last question. I think that was a setup for JD to start going hard and start pulling these things, because that's 2 things back to back where he just, hey, you haven't said thank you, get that talking point out. And by the way, you did argue for the opposition. He's getting both of those out like it's a talking point. He's just hitting the bullet points. Look at the eye contact with the room too. They know they're making a moment. Look at the hand placement, like they are matching.
President who's trying to save your country.
How is he trying to save us?
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war.
And then he gets cut off again. I remember this.
He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
So they cut him off again, literally just attacking this person who is already, this president of a country who is already war-torn. You are giving him more of the business, which is just insane. And you're doing it in this public fashion, which I believe is coordinated. I think this was scripted.
You've done a lot of talking. Your country
You've done a lot of talking.
is in big trouble.
And then JD sits back because his job is done.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
Said 300 billion at the start. Now he's saying 350.
Military equipment.
They're never even internally consistent, are they?
But they had to use our military.
What about West?
Men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have our military equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days.
That's a really good point there. That's a really good point. Yeah, you're just saying the same thing that Putin said.
Maybe less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do, but so setting up that there was going to be no deal, but you guys just came at him 1-2, like the tandem team going back and forth, jumping when one finished, and then he was answering one's question. You cut him off with the other one.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see,
See, they try to land this last bit, get it out, make sure that you say he has to own the fact that he's wrong, do that publicly. So we don't want to, listen to the statement that just said, we don't want to litigate this stuff publicly. We don't want to have these disagreements publicly because you're wrong about them. That's not even litigating it in private. You are just deciding to say that you're wrong. That's insane. And so now this is where I think it's a setup. This is the moment that I truly believe that it's a setup, and I think it started earlier. The moment is when Trump says, all right, one more question. JD then jumps in.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long.
So this statement of we shouldn't litigate it in public because you're wrong, so we just litigated it in public, and then, oh, I'm glad we did so, makes me think it's a setup.
You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to.
Can you imagine making like this silly voice about somebody, like he's saying something so ridiculous, like, I don't want to ceasefire. That is such a gross and demeaning way to talk about somebody who is talking about a very real issue. I won't sign anything. I won't sign any guarantee or any deal that doesn't have guaranteed safety for my people in the future. I'm willing to step down from my current position. He's not some grandstanding piece of shit like you.
I go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire?
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me. That wasn't.
It wasn't with me. I can give you no reason why anything would be different, but it wasn't with me.
That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
So what happened in the middle? He even admits right there that the war didn't stop. Right there. You can hear it from Trump's own mouth that while he was president, fighting was going on. Why did you give javelins? Why were javelins necessary? Was there fighting going on while you were president? Is what he's saying correct? That all the ceasefires and all that stuff and all the guarantees and anything, none of that, or the ceasefires don't mean anything without guarantees, without some real influence? Or are you fully admitting that his point is right? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you're admitting that there was fighting going on during your presidency. I gave you those javelins to take out all those tanks. So there was fighting going on while you were president, which you denied this the whole time. Oh, it wasn't going, not during me, wouldn't happen during me. So was there fighting? Sounds like there were tanks moving into Ukraine under your presidency. That's what you just admitted. That's just ridiculous.
Let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks?
And remember, this is the strategy for everything, because I've listened to this before. You just never answer the hypothetical question of, oh, what is going to happen if you, so you're making these promises and you're saying, oh, I'm unwilling to give you any reason why this is different. I'm unwilling to say what Putin has told me to make me think it's different. There is no meaningful difference other than my name is on this document compared to other people that has been on before. What do you have if that does get broken? And then listen.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything?
What if anything? I just can't, we can't even know. We can't even know. So he admits during this own thing that there is no consequences. He just admitted after fighting the whole time that, oh, nothing was going on during my presidency. You just said that fighting was, why were you sending javelins if nothing was going on during your presidency? So there was fighting going on during your presidency. Great. Way to admit to your own lie in the cabinet meeting. And then now you're, or not cabinet meeting, in this meeting. And then now you are going out of your way to say, oh, well, what if, it's just whatever. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, that's why he wants a security guarantee. The guarantee is if Russia does X, Y, and Z, they get the response of A, B, and C from America. We have these things, right? From NATO or from Europe, whatever it may be. These are real security guarantees instead of these ceasefires, which you yourself are admitting are worthless right here. What if they do this? What if they do that? What if they do that? Blah, blah, blah.
What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay.
What if a bomb drops on your head right now? So I can't, the very real thing, they've broken this deal 25 times. They've broken a ceasefire 25 times. What if they do it again because you've given us no reason to think that they wouldn't other than it's just your name on here? So what if they did? Oh, what if I just can't? It's just ridiculous. You just never humor any real question. So this is the one time that we've gotten anything different, that it more than just his name on the paper, they respect him more. I wonder why they would respect him more. Is it because he came into this negotiation saying we're completely done supporting our ally, that he came into this totally cucked out like a fucking idiot? I don't think that supports it at all. Why would you be fearful of this person? Oh my gosh, it just goes back to the Russia well. By the way, we're going to go through the Mueller report after this where we're talking about this. This is not some Russia, ridiculous thing. This is not directly working together collusion, but they are happy to work with the Russians when it suits them.
Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it.
What did Putin have to go through?
And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom.
What actually happened? What actually happened?
It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all
What did he have to put up with? What did Putin have to deal with? What is going on? I don't even understand.
Obama and Bush, and he might have broken him with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he did. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break him with me.
Of course you don't know what happened. You don't know anything. This is why you saying that they respect you is so ridiculous. You don't know anything.
And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave.
See, this is why I think they're intentionally demeaning. It was supposed to be intentionally demeaning so that they could get a rise out of him, and they just didn't succeed. This is why I think it's a successful meeting for Zelensky as much as it could have, because it was tanked from the beginning. There was no way you were getting security guarantees, and that was the only thing that you were willing to take. So they did this publicly in order to try and turn the sentiment against Zelensky negative, to kind of build on that Russian propaganda point. And I don't think it was successful because Zelensky was able to fend it off fairly well. But it's a disgusting display of just how awful the new regime is.
Or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards.
So give us this mineral right and maybe stave off the war for a couple years, or we'll leave you to fight it out anyway. It just doesn't even seem like this is a smart deal making for the people that's saying that he plays some 4D chess or some smart deal. What you are pushing this person, this country, to the point of desperation, but you're not giving them anything close to what they would need in order to make any sort of deal.
Once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think?
What's this negotiation going to look like?
This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right.
And so they make sure they cut him off because you can't speak. Because the 2 times they did let him speak earlier. And there was a moment. I wonder if I can find it real quick.
So I'm not speaking of Joe Biden talk tough.
I understand that, but I can tell you the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done.
Let me see if I can hear it.
Want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I think it was supposed to be at the end. And that's when Vance, I think this was planned. I think this moment right here.
All right, one more question.
One more question. He's supposed to get in. He knows it's like right around the end. Trump goes straight to him right away and then lets him get it out. I think that's when they started, and that's when they start attacking based on that. They start building from there. So they start with the false narrative. They start with, oh, the war started here. They say something obviously false.
We had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then...
So this is, I believe, Biden that he's referring to.
Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path...
Because it's interchangeable when they go out later and they say Biden and they make those accusations. So that's what I'm assuming here. And so the accusation, or not the accusation, the claim of when the war started is false. So it causes Zelensky to correct it.
He occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014.
So he corrects this record, and then they're fighting back and forth. So J.D. Vance was supposed to bring this up, start with a lie, make Zelensky. This is my thought, by the way. I think this was more coordinated than people are giving it credit for. I think this is the political theater that we are going to be dealing with here in the near future. It's not going to be people yelling on the Senate floor or yelling on the Congress floor or making, slamming the fist. It is going to be coordinated, scripted moments like this in front of the American people where there are people too stupid to see through this. I think this is a coordinated effort. I would say even scripted, where J.D. Vance was supposed to bring up this fake talking point, get Zelensky to confront him about it, and then Trump jumps in. Look, Trump's already raiding. Mouth open. Oh, that wasn't a good spot. Wait for it.
President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden. Now
the moment my name gets mentioned,
Trump, and God bless.
I got to set the record straight.
But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
So this is the derail style. They're supposed to derail.
2014.
And these two are on the same page where they're doing it. Oh, it's not me. They go through and they push. J.D. Vance is supposed to push, get him more upset. This is the whole thing, I think. I think this is obviously, at least to me, obviously a setup moment. They practiced this, the dictate language, the you don't have the cards language, all this stuff, and all the Russian talking points that were throughout. The people that are dying and all this stuff. Russia doesn't give a shit about those people that are dying. Trump doesn't give a shit about those people that are dying. If anybody does, it's Zelensky. But he won't be the person that you're willing to hear because this is clearly set up to cut him off. This last 9 minutes was them getting in everything that they wanted, yelling at him, saying that he talked too much, and then they end the meeting.
You're not acting at all.
So they just shout at this person who's in a desperate position. It's truly disgusting to see. All right.